jump in. The first is, let's describe who you are and how you got here.
I am Rennae Stubbs. I'm a former professional tennis player of over 20 years, and then I went into television. I commentate for all the major tennis events around the world, and I do a little bit of coaching as well from time to time. And I have my own podcast called the Rennae Stubbs Tennis Podcast, and it keeps me busy. So yeah, and I live here in the city.
So Rennae is here because I was watching the U.S. Open, and Coco was playing and really shanked it. I thought she didn't play well. Is that fair to say? That's what I can say that. I don't think she played well. And Brad Gilbert was Coco's coach at the time, and he was on the desk with Rennae. And then I'm like, who is this blonde lady on I didn't know who Rennae was. And she was so strong in her opinion. And I feel like sometimes in broadcasting and certainly in sports, which is where I came from, people kind of dance on eggshells a little bit, and it's awkward to say something to a co-host, especially who just coached a player who didn't have a great match. And Rennae was so strong, so polite, but firm, and really cut to the quick of it. And so I DM'd her. It was like Saturday night. I was just DMing Rennae Stubbs. And she wrote me back, and I was so excited. So that's how she got here. But, I think the lesson I take from it is it's great to see a woman who's been a player and obviously a coach and at the highest levels. But it was also really inspiring to see someone not afraid to call things like they are and to hold her own. So I loved that about you, and I'm so glad you're here.
Well, lovely to be here.
All right. So I'm a little bit different. I'm the guy that's here that represents anything in this audience that looks like effort, attitude, energy, and the synchronicities of life that you can't even put in words is why I'm here. There's a crazy reason that about 2 months ago in October, I'm watching the U.S. Open. I'm at the one hotel in Miami. I'm renting with my wife, and I hear this beautiful Australian angelic voice talking. My buddy coaches a guy by the name of Tiafo. He's his mindset coach, and he reached out to me. He's like, dude, I'm working with this guy. I want you to see. Maybe you could help me out. And I'm watching. I never watched this Open, and for some reason, I see this angelic Australian voice. And I'm like, this lady's a gangster. She's just going after exactly what she said.
She is a gangster.
Like literally on TV, expressing herself. And then I go to myself, I go, this is crazy. And the fact I'm talking with her now, she doesn't know this, the fact I'm talking next to her now is crazy. And my point of being here today is what you're gonna see here on stage, especially from these two spectacular women, is that you can't copy the talents that these people have. You can't. But what we can copy is their attitude, their effort, how they work to become what they become. And I think in today's society, it's very glamorous to see these guys here and be like, wow, it's not about that. It's about what we do after we leave here today. Next Tuesday isn't gonna be as sexy as this Tuesday, I promise you. But what you learn from everybody up here and go, wow. And the fact that you're even here today, you should be very proud of yourselves. Because people don't do this. Everybody thinks they have all the answers. Yeah. And the fact that there's very few dudes here is even worse, right? Because it shows you how you guys are ahead of the game. So have empathy for us guys that aren't as advanced as you guys. So I'm super blue collar. I'm the biggest failure in the history of Miami baseball by far. I happen to be Cuban, born in Cuba from Miami. I met Erika 4 years ago. During COVID, I had her on my show. I came out to see her in New York. It looked like I Am Legend out here. There was nobody here, but it was during COVID. I was the only one on the plane, and we connected then. I shared this with her today. She promised me 4 things. She did none of those 4 things. But the part that's interesting is 99% of the people go, fuck her, she's a liar, I don't want to deal with her, she's full of shit. I did not know that the day before she had just come from with Dave, they interviewed President Trump, first person to interview a president of Barstool of that magnitude on the internet while he was in office. It's a big deal. And a lot of times we send people email, DMs, and they don't answer back. And we forget that people have lives, and people of this magnitude, it's very hard for them to get the response that you want. But if you wait 4 years and you become the most positive guy in the internet, you might have a chance. Is that good, Erika? You like
That was
one?
great. I love
And here
that.
you are.
Yeah, here we are. I did deliver after a while, the 4 things. All right, so you both are coaches. I think once you're a teacher or a coach, you're kind of always one. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but as a coach, as someone who is interested, motivated in developing others, what are your principles around that?
For me, I think if you go into it with the mindset of wanting to absolutely get the best out of the person that you're working with, and also never going into it with a prejudgment of what you think they should be, because you don't really know who they are as individuals. You don't know what's going on in their personal lives. You don't know what happened in their childhood. There could be a lot of trauma based on their parents, things that have happened to them. So I think I always go in with not a preconceived idea of who they are, even though I think I know them. So I think going in and knowing them personally is incredibly important to begin with. And then you start working out, oh, this is why they are the way they are. I had one player that always looked like the glass was always half empty. Like, no matter how well she played, she always found a negative. And I would just try to chip away at the scar tissue in her brain, as I saw, and just keep chipping away until she saw positivity. And then eventually, over time, you ask the question, well, how was that? And they go, it was good. And I'm like, okay, we're getting somewhere, you know? And so they would react in a way that I was starting to get through to them of what was stopping them from being better. There are also tennis players that I worked with that thought they knew they were so delusional on how bad they played. And I was like, okay, that's fine to be positive, but we got to look at like what you've got to get better at. So there are some people that looked at the glass half empty, and the glass was overflowing. And I'm like, no, the glass is empty. So, you know, you have to, but they're both good qualities in a lot of ways. You know, one's never happy. One's always trying to get happier and get better. The other one thinks that they're going to always get there. So there are positives and negatives to both of those personalities, but as a coach, to get the best out of them, you have to know that about them. So then you start working with them on those things. And you know, never ever being afraid to be really honest with them about that. In a way, I like to start with, especially if they're screwing up in ways that I used to, I very much tell them that. And I said, I wasted 10 years to get to this point. So I'm being your 30-year-old, I'm going back to being 30 to help you not make the mistakes at 22. To say, I wish somebody had told me this. And maybe they did, I just wasn't listening. And the best question that was ever asked to me as a player was, what would you tell your 20-year-old self? And I said, I wish I had listened to my elders. So if anyone's older than you, in your work, in your business, may even be your parent. It's hard to hear from your parents. But the reason people that are older than you are telling you these things is because they've already lived it. So listen to what they're telling you, because they're trying to help you not make the mistakes. And it could be a relationship, it could be life, it could be work, all of those things. So I always start by saying, I wish I'd told my 20-year-old self to listen to people that were older than me, because they really did know. So that's an important thing for me.
What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
I think that's a good question. I would tell my 20-year-old self that you're trying your best. I think trying your best is super important. I think I always got a special place every time I come to New York, because the amount of adversity you guys got to deal with is insane. I don't think you guys give yourself enough credit for surviving day to day, season by season. It's very impressive how you guys just live your soul. That's number one. Number two, when you coach somebody, I have the privilege of I have somebody in the World Series right now, and I got 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds that I work with, right? So first thing, I set the tone. In everything I do, I love to set the tone. That's number one. Number two, positive reinforcement after I set the tone. I get people addicted to me by positive reinforcement. I don't bullshit them. If I like your boots, I'm gonna say, I love those boots. If I don't like those boots, I'm not gonna say anything. But I win people over.
Do you like my boots?
I like those boots. I love the way she dresses.
It's like a man.
No, she's like you. It's the best. But and then thirdly, after that, then comes the player development. Then after I got you hooked, then we'll start carving into who you are, that whole thing. But I think that's super important, whether you're a coach or a parent, to start off with, you gotta win people over and you gotta be big on delivery. I think delivery, we don't do the right delivery. We say the worst thing in the worst way and we're done. And I think we should sugarcoat more the selling and the romance of the delivery, especially if it's not as good.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. Some players that I've worked with, or players that I haven't worked with, just players that I'd like to help, whether it be a younger Australian player or someone who's young who looks up to me or whatever it is, I'm very honest. If I think they can be top 20 in the world, which is an incredible feat to be able to get to 20 in the world or 10 in the world, I'll tell them that. If I think they can be top 50 in the world, then they're 250 in the world. I like to tell them you can be top 50. You can be top 50 one day. And they look at, wow, really? I mean, Karolina Muchova, I don't know if any of you follow tennis, but she's an incredible player. Super talented, keeps getting injured, has made finals of the French Open, made the semifinals of the US Open last year. I think made a great run again this year. Has come back from a tremendous amount of injuries. And I told her about 4 years ago, when she was about 85 in the world, I walked up to her and I said, and the thing is, it's authenticity, right? People trust you to be honest with them. I said to her, you should be top 10 in the world. There's no doubt in my mind you should be top 10 in the world, and you will be in a year. And she became top 10 in the world. And it's because I knew and I could see that she could be that good. So if you really see someone's talent, or if someone sees that in you, believe them. If you trust them, believe them. If they think you can be a CEO of a company, if they think you can run something, and you trust them, listen to them. That's, again, just hearing what they say and believing in it, because they wouldn't tell you that if they didn't believe you. Your shoes are great, by the way.
They are great, Hector. How do you think about feedback? I think one thing, are we that boring?
No, I've been following his Instagram. How do Yankee thing come up?
That's totally cool. Hector appreciates a follow. And now I have helped Hector.
So
we're
like,
this
three.
is
I got
all
three left.
coming together.
Come on, three more.
Who wants to, why you tell people, oh, here we go, Coach HP, already here. Yeah. Okay, how do you think about feedback? I think one thing that, who here works in like a corporate-y job? Yeah, most people, right? Ish. Would you consider this place corporate? I think we're corporate-ish. But feedback, I think feedback since the pandemic, I think feedback as, kids are kind of over-parented and there is so much love, so many trophies, so much you're great, everybody should win. How do you give the tough feedback?
Okay, so the number one rule, especially with professional people, whether it's I have one of the best comedians in the world, entrepreneurs, sports guys, is my number one rule for working with you is I do it for free. I do it for free because then I tell you what I think.
Yep.
And if you don't like it, it's very authentic. Because if a dude's paying me $20,000 a month to fly around with him and be his happy guy and yes guy, apparently you're gonna get used to that lifestyle. So it's very difficult, to be honest. I have one of the best podcasters in the world, ex-UFC guy, been doing it for 10 years, was doing great in comedy, but wasn't funny and wasn't loving it. And I flew out to Los Angeles and I saw a set. And after I pulled the guy aside, I go, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And he's like, well, you're a comedian and you got to keep this and that. I go, no, man, you got to keep your happiness. And happiness isn't money. I was lucky enough to work with the most successful people in Beverly Hills when I lived in Los Angeles. I was with these people every single day. A whole summer would go by and a mom would not come downstairs to watch me train their kid in a $45 million house. Because we think that money equals happiness. And it doesn't. Super important that tonight, especially in this city, that you realize that happiness is tonight. When we talk after this event, because this is all great, but the cameras are off, so what's going on? That's happiness. When you send them a DM and they're gonna respond back, hopefully, that's happiness. because this era we're not prepared for. In school, they should eliminate at least 50% of the classes and put internet management, cloud management, vulnerability, how to be yourself, how to deal with things with yourself that you're not prepared for. And we don't do that. So we expect everybody to be perfect, and then when they mess up, then we're going to criticize them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm super big on that.
Financial management as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it comes to feedback, giving it and taking it are very different. Obviously, growing up as a tennis professional, I had to be critiqued all the time by my coaches. So it's that moment of, do I want to be better? I mean, that's the bottom line. People are critiquing you because they want you to be better, or you have to be better, depending on what your role is in your job. So taking your ego out of it and saying really sitting with what they've said to you is super important. And then as a coach, critiquing, and I say the same thing. I say, I don't need this job. I've said that to a couple of players. I'm like, just an FYI, I don't need this job. So if you want to listen to what I'm saying, then great, because you're paying me to tell you what to do. Yes, ultimately you are my boss because you're paying me, but also at the same time, I don't need your money. So we want to do this together, and I want to make you better. So if you want to listen to my feedback, it's because I want you to be better. And that's super important. Again, it's being authentic with them, right? And I just think feedback, in the end, when you're giving it, is again from a place of like passion and love for that person to be better. And sitting in a room with Serena Williams before she's about to walk onto the court at the US Open, I mean, that moment to me is still so surreal in my own mind, is that I am going to walk into that room and close the door and everyone has to leave and it's one-on-one of she and I. And I'm about to essentially critique Serena before she walks on the court. So you have to think about it in a way like, how can I put this in a way that's going to build her up, but make it very realistic, that she needs to hear what I'm saying. And some people sort of said to me, well, how do you feel like doing that when you, I mean, Serena's career is gazillion times better than mine ever was. So how do I feel like I can tell somebody that? And it's the same thing. It's being authentic of what I see, knowing her for 20 plus years, of what I feel like she can do to be better that night. So I think and that's a perfect example. Serena Williams' ego was never a part of that conversation. It was tell me how I can get better, tell me how I can win this match. Mm-hmm. And great players, great people in business, listen and they're curious. And Serena is the epitome of that.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it, where it's all about the framing, right? Which is really what you're both saying. It's all about the framing, and that you're in it to win something together, build something together, accomplishing something together is super important. Let's talk about authenticity. I think you are both so authentic, and I think when you're authentic, it shines. Like you feel it. So were you always this authentic? How did you get more confident in your authenticity? Like, describe that journey.
Yeah, I've always been authentic. I've always been super open, super honest. We spoke about it earlier. I mean, I came out when I was 25, and one of the reasons I came out is because I didn't want to actually have to hide it, because I knew my tennis career was going to be over. Clearly, it didn't matter if I was gay playing tennis. It was like, whatever, who cares? But I knew at 30 or 35, 40, when I'd stop playing tennis, I would have to get another job. Mm-hmm. So I never wanted to discuss that with anyone. It's just like, yep, this is who I am. Mm-hmm. You're hiring me based on who I am. And I want to be authentic, and I never want to hide who I am. And thankfully, I've always gotten the opportunity to work in television and work with other people and not have to ever worry about that. I don't know, maybe I haven't gotten jobs because of that, but I never will know, and I don't care. So I think for me, being honest, my biggest issue is trying to not be so honest and not be over the top, and I've had great bosses that's where the feedback comes in, and I've had other people saying, on Twitter, you could probably tamp it down a little bit, and now I sort of don't push the send button. I pull back because I'm working for corporate America a little bit more. ESPN is ABC, which is Disney. So I've got to be a little bit careful. But I think being authentic is super important if you want to get ahead, and people trust you and they love you because of that. And all your vulnerabilities and being scared and being afraid, and there's nothing better than having someone who's authentic sit down with you and talk to you and say, hey, can you help me here? Like, what do you think I could do to get better? that empowers the person that's telling you and talking to you as well. So don't ever be afraid to sit down with a friend or a co-worker or a boss and go, how can I get better? I want to get better. And a great boss will sit down and have that discussion with you.
So for the corporate people out here, this is a little different, right? Because you have two special talents that are two special situations. For me, the number one thing is winning people over. Because you could be super authentic, go to your job tomorrow, be authentic, and cross the wrong line and you're done. So a lot of people in today and age of this social media, internet stuff where you see everybody being themselves. Oh, I'm going to leave here. I'm going to go be myself. You got to be very careful with that. You got to be very careful because every field, every arena is different. And on the internet, it looks the same, but it's very different. I could say something here today and nothing's going to happen. Somebody could say something here today and it'd be a problem for them tomorrow. So win people over. Number one thing, people care about who? Themselves. Yep. If us three take a picture right now, I'm not gonna go, oh my God, let me see how Rennae came out. Right?
Gorgeously.
Let me see how Erika's boots. Did Erika's boots go? I'm gonna look at myself. But if everybody in this room today gets the one message of, wait a minute, if I make things about somebody else and learn how to compliment and celebrate somebody else and build a common ground with somebody else, even if you have different opinions, even if they're talking bad about Cuba. You don't know how many people have told me Fidel Castro is the greatest thing of all time. And when I worked in a nightclub, I smiled and I said, oh, that was a great situation. And I then moved on. I did not have a political battle with the dude on table 4 at Hyatt at the Bellagio of how life is. That's not the place to do it. And in today's day and age, especially now, this month, where everything is now heightened and this guy, no. Our job here is we're a team. We're a team. Even though we play for different teams, we're a team. And the more you celebrate your coworkers, especially in a corporate world, because you guys are stuck there for 8 hours, we're not. She does an event, whatever, and she goes home and has a great time. She does her things, the podcast, I do. You guys are stuck there looking at the same person. Why are we fighting with people that are right here? If this was my team, I would have these people won over like you have no idea. I'd get coffees every day. I get whatever she wants. True. Make me the lowest person here. I'd be the happiest, lowest person in the world. You got two options in life. You either can be the happiest bald guy in the world that celebrates, wow, look at this dude, great set of hair, man, that's awesome, or be a miserable person. While everybody's complaining how cold it is, just be happy you get to come to a city like this. Man, wow, this is great, man. We got shelter. We got a heater on. This is awesome.
Just go down to the subway. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
You know what I'm saying? So that, to me, because as I look at the audience, which you guys are the most important people here right now. You guys are the ones that came. This corporate thing is no joke. This is your livelihood you're talking about. And you have lives, kids, and stuff. So this is a lot of very sexy, nice stuff. Oh, I'm my boss. Yeah, I'm authentic. But you got to be very careful with authentic, because if I piss the boss off, I'm not going to be in the right frame of mind when she wants to get that promotion or she wants to push me. She's not going to think about me. So I think that's huge to understand what room you're in while being yourself. But take your time, and it takes a while to become this. It takes a real long time.
I have to add to that, Robert Herjavec, I did a conversation with him. I don't know if you all know Robert Herjavec from Shark Tank. He's always the happiest guy at the end of the thing. I've become a personal friend of his, and I did a talk with him at one of his corporate days. And he told a story about, he was on a Zoom call meeting with about 5 other companies that did what he did. So they were all the same company trying to sell to somebody to buy. And he was the smallest one on that call, his company. And he said, I knew that there was no chance I was getting this, but I said, I'm going to be the one that they remember. I'm going to be one that they remember, being the happiest, the most enthusiastic, the one willing to listen more, blah, 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 all the things. Guess what? He got the contract. So, that's exactly what Hector is talking about. Be the person in the room that everyone wants to be around. Don't be I hope there's no Karens in the room. Is there a Karen? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Don't be that person that comes into work and goes, oh God, here comes Karen. Be the person that comes, oh, here comes Karen. This is great. You want to be that person in any corporate, particularly in a corporate environment. And your boss sees that. They see that they're the ones that are sort of leading the charge of being the happiest one in the room. If you do your job and you're the one that people remember, you'll get the job.
Let me say something real quick. So we were here, Erika had her board meeting with her personal brand, and we're sitting there, and the idea of me being here came that she had very, very, very successful people there. And this particular girl stood up, and when they had questions, she raised her hand and she said, man, she was an agent from a huge, probably the best agency in the world. And she goes, I just wish, I told my manager, I wish there was more people that looked like me, meaning that they wish they would hire more girls. And I thought to myself, imagine I go to a place and go, man, I wish there was more bald dudes in here. That's mental. That's saying that I am at a handicap because I'm bald. Or I'm at a handicap because I'm not good enough for what I already am. And it made me feel real bad for her. Because I was like, man, she doesn't think, she needs more to be good. And you don't need more. You just need yourself to be the you can be, absorb the information, and then perform. And whatever you gotta do. And if this, because we answered a lot of questions today, a lot of people are miserable, they're not happy with their jobs. If this is not for you, don't jump ship right away. Make a plan. Take your time. Consult people. DM people, ask questions. Look, I'm thinking of doing this, I'm thinking of doing that, I'm thinking about, I don't know, somebody was in the elevator, I'm gonna move to New York from Boston, I'm gonna move to New York, I wanna get a job, whatever. Ask questions. Hey, I'm new here. Make friends. When I say hi to everybody here, we're gonna be best friends. I don't know you, but I'm gonna act like if I know you. So I'm gonna immediately break any kind of thing that you have of feeling awkward.
So what do you do if you're an introvert, Hector?
Then you tell people, this is exactly, hey, if you're an introvert, here we go. If you're an introvert in here, be honest, raise your hand. So look around and go, this is what I would do. Are you Erika? Erika, listen to me. I'm the biggest introvert you've ever met in your life, okay? But I just want to introduce myself to you. I'm Hector, I'm Cuban from Miami. And let's see where that takes her. Hey, Rennae, I'm super introvert. I'm a shy person, but I'm such a fan of your work and what you've done. Wow. And let's see where that goes. Australia, oh my God, that accent, how? And let's see what she says. You know where else this works? In the dating world, in the parenting world, in the teacher world, in every world possible. This works. Try it. Hey, I'm the introvert. Hey, I'm super shy, by the way. Hey, I can't swim, but damn, I can't play tennis, but that serve, wow. How did you get that?
Do you have a question?
I just want to say, like, being the extrovert in the room, I found Jack tonight, and we were the first two people here, and then I just saw her standing there and just told her my entire life story that I haven't even told my family about, my career plan and everything.
So every pot needs a lid. That's it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, what's your just exchange information? I told her stuff I haven't even told my kids.
That's so great.
But you know why that is? You know why that is, right? Because you understand that if you came here today, you have a winner in your life. You have winning tendencies in your brain. Because if not, you wouldn't be here. Yep. Everybody that's in here is a winner. You just haven't won at this level yet because the game's not there. You're in the second inning. You're not in. These guys are in the 8th inning. This is big time. This is the big leagues. But we're here. We're just there. And if we just show up tomorrow and be present and say hi to the person next door, you don't know who that is. You don't know who just came up here and said what's up. Because now we all look different.
I think that living in New York as well, if you're an introvert, you just go out. Just go sit at a bar. Honestly, I moved to New York. Thankfully, I knew a lot of people that lived here. But, everyone's busy. Everyone's got a job. People got kids. It's not like you can be I would call some of my friends and be like, hey, what are you doing? They're like, at my job. And I was like, oh, sorry. Because I have a unique lifestyle, right? And so they're like, you just don't forget. Although I did have a job last year, I was telling Erika, every day I had a TV show, and I was like, yeah, man, I don't know if this is for me. But again, that's something that you can, some people have the luxury of that or not, but you can also find a job that doesn't, you've got to find your passion. And it might be a 9-to-5 job, okay, and you might love that. But I think in New York, if you go out and you go to a restaurant and you go sit at a bar, go eat at the restaurant bar. I met 4 or 5 people that I'm still friends with this today because I just sat down and I would sit down and I would start talking to them. And then we became friends. So that's a really good way. I know it's kind of a little bit overwhelming for some people to do that, but say yes and say hello to people. Like I said to Erika, say yes to everything.
Yes, say yes.
Say
is
yes
great.
to everything.
Can you describe your 3 C's?
Yeah, I use the 3 C's, I call it in coaching, and I do believe in life as well. I say you've got to have composure. So I say to my players, composure, clarity, commitment. But those things are in life as well. You have to have composure. You have to be able to stop. Like I meditate now, which I recommend to everybody. And if I can meditate, you can do it. Believe me. Everyone's like, you meditate? I was like, yes, I do. If you have composure, you have clarity in what you're thinking, and then you have that clarity, right, to know how you want to approach the task, a relationship, a discussion, whatever, and then you commit. So composure, clarity, commitment. And those 3 things in a sporting environment are really important because you've got to be clear about what you want to try and achieve. It could be on the basketball court, okay, I'm composed, I'm running down, I've got the ball, I'm the point guard. Okay, I'm composed. All right, I'm clear about what the play is. I know I've got to get the ball here. I know I've got to make them shift here. Someone's got to, do this. And then I have to commit to it and never doubt yourself. So when you decide to commit, do not doubt it. Do it. And then do it. And then there's no turning back from that. I really believe that, I've always spoken, if I ever did a TED Talk, it would be along the lines of choosing between 2 roads. There's the road less traveled and the hardest one, right? So in a sporting environment, or any environment, to be honest, in a relationship, you might be a trigger person that just reacts to a discussion. If someone brings something up to you, like, what? And you're just reacting to them immediately. And that's just your personality. So if that's your personality, it doesn't do great things for you. And on the tennis court, for example, you have a really quick decision. Am I going to get upset? Am I going to smash my racket? Am I going to belt a ball out of there? Am I going to swear at myself? Am I going to yell at the... Or am I going to stay composed, be clear, and commit? And every ounce of me, for example, on the tennis court was, no, I want to yell, I want to break a racket. And then I realized for me to move ahead and be successful, I had to be the complete opposite of that. So someone told me once before I won my first Grand Slam, be Chris Evert today. And now I work with Chrissy, which is even more hilarious. She was like this on the tennis court, no heartbeat, just flat line. And I thought, that's impossible for me. So I thought, I'm going to try to do that. And it was in the finals of the Australian Open, in front of my biggest crowd ever for my home slam. And I wanted to be everything other than Chris Evert. Things went against me, a net cord on match point, all these things that were going on. And I was like, no, stay composed. And in the end, I ended up with my partner winning this match, winning my first Grand Slam. And I thought in 20 years' time, so this is my big lesson for tonight. In 20 years' time, so I was 29 at the time, I would wake up when I was 49, 50 years of age. And if I'd lost that match, I still would have been able to look myself in the mirror and say, I truly, truly did everything I could that day to win that match and to be the best I could be on that day. And it was hard, and oh my God, I probably ruminate over it for 20 years, I never won it. But I don't know if I would, because I would just accept, thankfully, in my own mind, that was truly my best. And that I can live with. What I can't live with is waking up at 50, because we all know somebody like this, I know a lot of people like this, and they go, if only. They're the 2 worst words in the English language if you want to be successful. If only I had reacted differently. If only I'd been composed. If only I hadn't spoken back to my boss that one time. If only I'd done that job. Maybe I should have taken that job. If there's 2 words to leave here tonight, never saying in your life, it's if only. So go the hard way. Go the way that's not easy. Be composed. Maybe pick the job you don't want or you're not sure about. Oh, it's a bit risky. Do it. Because in 20 years' time, you'll wake up and go, I gave myself the best chance to be successful at what I wanted to do. So that for me was enormous. I'm just lucky that I got to achieve it and win it. But if I hadn't, I would have been able to live with myself. I would have been able to look myself in the mirror and been like, yeah, but you gave everything. You truly did.
I love that. All right, do we have questions here? Oh, here we go. First in class. Why don't you tell people about yourself first? And stand up.
My name is Tiara Bennett, and I am the pastry chef and owner of the Pastry Box Bakery located in the East Village.
Yes, girl, I know it well.
Which is the most delicious place ever.
I made the cake and the cookies tonight. I hope you guys all enjoy. My question is, I often try to bring friends and family into the business. I'm a very small business, and even being a very small business, when I have employees, we become family, and coaching them becomes difficult because emotions come into play. When I try to give constructive criticism, it often is taken as a personal attack on character and who they are instead of what is I'm actually critiquing, So that is something that I face every day and trying to be like, hey, this is not good, but you're still great. So I just want to know, how do you tackle crossing that personal level and being able to coach somebody into making them better?
Absolutely. First thing you do is you set the tone. This is your livelihood. The passion you have for this, none of your family member have it. If not, they would have started it with you. So that's number one. Number two, you got to take care of the environment and the culture there. So when you hire somebody, you got to spend some time and explain to them exactly what you want out of them. And the minute they don't do that in the nicest way possible, say, no, this is not how we do things here. And the second time you got to tell them, you go, this person's a problem. And then the third time, you just find somebody else. Say, listen, I love you to death. Let's hang out on the weekends, but I need this job. I need this company to go. I'm very proud of what I'm doing. I can't mess this up.
Yeah, I don't think you can apologize for wanting to give feedback. It's like black or white, You're like, you have a vision. You're either helping you with your vision or people are getting in the way of your vision.
You need to tell them to watch the bear. Okay, that's all I was going to say. You want me to be this person or this person? I always say I don't take anything personally. So if I'm coaching a person and I say, anything you say back to me, I don't take personally because I remember what it was like to be stressed out on the tennis court. I remember what it was like to be told and things didn't happen. But as soon as you make it personal about me, we have a problem. So I don't take it personally until you make it personal. So I would say to your staff exactly what Hector said, which is, this is my livelihood, this is my business. And I expect this from everyone that's working here. And if you can't handle this, then we probably need to find a different job for you. Having said that, I think you can get here. And wouldn't that be amazing? Because you're here right now. And I see you, it's the same as being, I think you can be top 10 in the world. If you truly think that they can be here, then you need to tell them that. And if they cannot be here, then you say, okay, maybe you can't manage this, maybe you can't make this perfect thing, but you could be here and you're here right now. So you say it with love and with respect and empathy and say that I was here once and I got told I could be here and now I'm here. So I see that in you. And then if that doesn't happen over time, you say there's a bakery down the street you can work at.
Does anyone else have a question?
Hi, I'm Mokshika. I run product and technology at Serena.
Do you want a job?
Let's chat now. No, so I often find that, I get a lot of requests for mentoring or, they'll say, hey, I really like your profile or whatever, I'd love to learn more or talk to you. But sometimes when I actually chat with them, I feel that they may not be ready to actually be coached. So have you ever been in an experience where you've had to almost coach them out of being coached by you and maybe offer other suggestions or meet with other people before they actually, maybe even meet with you?
How do you fire a player?
So first of all the people who are introverts should ask questions. When we needed one of the introverts to raise their hand, and when they go up and say, look, I'm such and such, and I'm an introvert, and then we start. That has to happen before we leave. That's number one. Number two, it's communication. Listen, I love your energy. I love what you're doing. Right now, I don't think this is good right now. But I think if you do X, Y, and Z, sometimes it isn't so easy to just DM somebody like this and they answer, which sometimes they will, but it should be tough. She was absolutely right in ignoring what I wanted because I wasn't ready. And she instinctually felt that, like, this guy's crazy. I'm not gonna do this right now, but I stuck to it. Mm-hmm. Listen to me, I stuck to it. And I go, fuck her, I know what I'm doing, and just die, right? I stuck to it. And I think that's very important, especially for my corporate people and for my people that are doing businesses, and for my people that are the only ones in their family that are doing something special, because guess what? The winner's circle gets very small the higher you go up. It's not crowded with a lot of winners here. Because if this city was winner, this thing should have been sold out the 10 minutes it was announced. But everybody thinks they have the right answer. So what I would do is, I would say, listen, based on what I know, this is what I would do. I'm extremely honest, it's part of my brand. I don't think we're ready for this. And we just move on.
I also think there's a lot, people ask for a lot of things at work, including mentorship, without really wanting it. It's like vomit. It's like you just ask because you can. Like this happens all the time for us at work, where I want a widget built, I want a thing, I want mentorship, I'd like to do a business, whatever. Like I really agree with Hector, is having someone really prove that they want it is important. Like, are my New Hampshire girls here? Oh, they're here. Okay. These two women have followed me to like Canada. They come here. They come down from New Hampshire every time we do this. If now their dad DMs me, which is sweet. And I respond. He says he's going to make you very rich. I just want to let you both know that. That was actually a direct quote. But they're worth it because I see that they're into it, right? And I think it's like that with anything. It's like give, take, or give, ask. And I think a lot of times we distract ourselves, whether you're a big senior person or not. It's very easy to scatter yourself away with people who don't really care about the output of your effort. And being discerning about who you give your time to, that took me a really long time. But I think being discerning about where you give your time is a really good survival skill.
Yeah. I would just add, if it's not, it's going to sound a little selfish, but if it doesn't feel good to you, just don't do it. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like if this person's responding and really trying and comes back to you and says, oh, what you told me last week was so good, thank you so much, then you're going to be going, I'm going to give this time to this person because they value you. But don't give up your time, because your time is valuable unless you know that it's actually making a difference. And they're not sucking you dry for no reason, not giving you anything in return.
All right, where's an introvert? Are you an introvert? I am. Great job.
So my heart is obviously pounding because I
Get it.
What is your name?
My name is Caitlin. I lead product and growth strategy for a small digital magazine called Gear Patrol. I shouldn't say small, I should be hyping it up because.
No, it's okay. This is a safe space.
I have a question about something that you've all brought up. I'd love to hear from all of you about pursuing your passions professionally versus the idea of kind of finding a job that lets you pursue your passions in your free time. Personally, I've never been able to treat a job as just a job. Sometimes it's been great, sometimes to my detriment. And I've always found work that I'm extremely passionate about, including right now with Gear Patrol. And so I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are now and if they've evolved on pursuing a job you're passionate about comparing to maybe times in your life where you've taken work just for work that allows you to sort of pursue things outside of work that you care about, if that makes sense.
Well, as an introvert, that was great.
You did do a great job.
I'll start. I'm really lucky. I'm one of the most blessed people in the world. I got to do what I've got to do my whole life because I wanted to do it. I set out this crazy idea that I could be a professional tennis player, and I left Australia at 17 years of age, basically. And I never went back. And I believed in myself so much that I said, there was a coach that one time said to me, we're not going to send you away because we think your results don't warrant us paying for you to go away. It was an Australian thing. And I said, okay, that's great, but I'm going anyway. So I went off, and my dad gave me a Visa card, and he said, try not to spend too much, but whatever. My dad was not wealthy. And I came back, and I won money, and I paid him back, and I've never owed $1 to anybody since. And I went into television because I loved it, and I was lucky enough to pursue it my whole tennis career. I always said yes to everything. And if someone would ask me after I was tired, and do you want to commentate the tennis match? I was like, okay. You know, and then I went into television, and then I got my own sports show. I said, I'd like to do my own sports show once. And then someone approached me to do it. I did not approach them. And I did that with Amazon, and I was scared out of my mind to host a TV show, which I'd never done. What I do in television is I'm the expert. So someone can ask me a question and I can waffle on forever about tennis. But this was different. I was hosting my own TV show, and I was petrified. And I'm not kidding you, I've never been more petrified in my life to do this job, because I was prepared to be a tennis player. I worked 6 hours a day on the tennis court and in the gym, and I was prepared for that. I was nervous playing matches, but I was prepared. This one was definitely out of my league. And thank God I said yes, because I loved every second of it. And I got to know all the people that I worked with, and I loved them every day, and I went to work really happy every day. And so I think for me, it's just constantly saying yes to different new things and always choosing the passion and always setting that moonshot idea about what you want to do. And your job right now, you're happy, you are so lucky. And so I would say pursue the thing that makes you the happiest, because your life goes like that. I am 53. I cannot even believe that. And it's like life goes like that. So if you're 25 or 30, my God, if there's a job that you want to do it, like don't say no to it. You'll never regret that decision, ever. And if it doesn't go great after a year, you go, God, but it was great that I tried. Mm-hmm. It's better than sitting in a mundane thing for 2 years and being like, God, why didn't I make that decision 2 years ago? So I'm very lucky that I've said yes to everything that I've always wanted to do.
Go.
Oh.
You answer.
I think that okay, I love that. Amazing. One thing that I worry about with young people is this idea of the perfect job that is going to be this like ripe, like, whoa, it's my passion and it's cool and the logo is great and they have free snacks and I don't have to commute. And I get this a lot in my DMs of people asking questions where people are looking for perfection, and passion can only be about the thing that's perfect. And I really think that work is such a luxury, right? It's tuition you get paid for. It's this chance. Work changed my life 1,000 times over in really good ways, in bad ways, in crazy ways. But the chance to work on yourself by working on something for someone else, I think if you can find passion in that, mm-hmm. it will open up anything for you. And my only piece on it is I agree with Rennae immensely, which is be passionate, say yes. Like saying yes is a great thing. You will never be wrong saying yes. Not saying yes or no, you'll be wrong a lot and nothing will happen. And saying no, you'll be really limited. But also, my first jobs were at shit companies, like shit jobs, shit managers, shit companies. I was shit.
Shit pay.
Shit pay for sure. But by working at it, I got better at it. And I always said to myself, every job I have should open 5 new jobs.
Yep.
And they did. And they did because I said to myself, I'm going to open 5 new jobs for myself. So finding passion in the day-to-day, I think is really critical to being happy at work. And it might be in mentoring, it might be in accomplishing a task, it might be in the beauty of your handwriting or the way you use ChatGPT or how you run an agenda or write a press release or whatever. But finding that passion in executing, I think, is deeply, deeply fulfilling.
And just to add before Hector goes, I always say, find something that you weren't great at yesterday to be better at the next day. And that's a win, right? And if you don't have great handwriting, oh my God, look how much better my handwriting is today. That's a win. So always do that. And I think the bottom line is you got to work really hard to be great. Yeah. I forgot to add that bit.
So 2 things. Number 1, congratulations. Look, you got to speak, right? It wasn't too bad. People got to see you. They got to know you. That's awesome. That's number 1. Second thing. So one of my jobs that I did was for 4 years, I got to work at a club called Hyatt in the Bellagio in Las Vegas. And I got paid to party, which is awesome, right? You're a young
they
dude.
paid you to go talk to people and be
friendly?
You're
hosting. I'm a host, so I would bring 8 people, couples, not couples, whatever, and I'm your host at a nightclub. So you party, you drink alcohol. I get paid on the amount of alcohol you consume. So I would get 10% of table sales, of my tables, right? Which is amazing. It's awesome. But at some point, work becomes work. Mm-hmm. So imagine you do that Friday, then you have to do that Saturday, then you have to go again. Industry night was Tuesday, and then they make people go out because you got to keep bringing in. And every day is like the Super Bowl because you can't have an empty club. So all of a sudden, partying just became what? Work. And a lot of people look at the other side and go, oh, I would love to do that. But it's all work. And you can't teach passion. Parents reach out to me all the time and they're scared. They're like, but coach, what if I push my son too much and he loses the passion for the sport? Well, let me ask you a question then. I wish I would have, the first person I hooked up with, I wish it was my wife. It wasn't, right? And I got rejected a lot by women, a lot. But I didn't give up. I don't think anybody here gave up. They just keep on going, right? Instinctually. My parents didn't hire a love coach so that I could pick myself up when I was heartbroken. We just dealt with it instinctually. And we're underestimating that a lot. Our instincts, our gut, what we feel. And these two people are very lucky because they're special cases. Super talented, super athletic from a very young age. That's nobody in here. Sorry. Super smart, right? Super smart, incredible writer, incredible mastery of the English language, incredible humbleness. Nobody can make fun of herself but like her, and then pick her. It's incredible. You can't do this. But what you can do is put yourself out there. I don't care who you are. Put yourself out there to 15 people. You will not reach 7 while somebody will give you a hand. Yep. In whatever it is you want to do. You want to work at Food52? Just tell her, look, I am willing to stand outside and sweep the floors for free till she gives you a job. They'll find something to do here because nobody wants to do the entry-level stuff. Everybody wants sexy. Oh, why can't I be on the U.S. Open and be the voice of tennis? And oh my God, I would love to critique it. I would love to.
You have no idea how many people ask me that.
Because people are crazy.
Like,
because
not.
people are crazy because it looks so easy now, and we can touch them. Before we just saw them on the TV, we would never see these characters. Now we can see them. So it's like Santa Claus out here, right? So the biggest feedback of all this today is what she's done here is incredible. You will not find a CEO in this position doing anything like this for free. This is crazy. The fact this isn't sold out shows you guys how much winners you can be, and you can destroy this city. I was telling Manny, I move here, in a month I'll have this whole place on lockdown. I'll win everybody over here. In English, in Spanish, anything. Or I will die trying. But my dad doesn't have to call me and pump me up like, hey, dude, you should go talk to her. No. But you can't teach what I have. That's my advantage. Get to know yourself. Figure out your advantage and don't imitate this because it won't happen. I could be on a tennis court for the rest of my life. I'll never do this. I could write, I'll never be this brilliant at what these two women have. But what I can do is explain myself in a way that people kind of get it because I'm the biggest failure in whatever I have done. No one's ever come to me and handed me anything. So I had to go get it. I had to shoot her a DM, and then I had to show up during COVID in her office. She's like, you came from Miami? I go, yeah, I just did. For what? Just to say hi to you, just to see you, so you can look in my eyes and see me and see what fire and passion looks like. And let's see what happens.
I think that goes back again to like the authentic part of you when you walk into the room. Like, don't walk in there going, if you want to negotiate something with your boss or even a coworker, and go in and say, okay, this I should act like this. I shouldn't say too much. No, you should go in there and be authentic and be truly who you are. Tamp down if you're upset, obviously, but go in there and ask for what you want. You know, and somebody who's in a powerful position, they see that. They see somebody coming in saying, this is what I want. Well, boss goes, okay, all right, that's good to hear. Great. If you're doing the work, if you're doing the work, they see that. And not only are you doing the work and they'll see it, maybe pay a little bit more attention to you, but if you are doing the work, they'll be like, no, they had the chutzpah to come in here and ask for that. I see. Because that's the people that are in charge want working for them. So don't ever forget that.
Here's the greatest story. So I go to Erika's office. I just meet her, and I'm sitting there, super nervous. I have cotton mouth. I told you I had cotton mouth there. All you hear, we have that saliva there. And they're talking like, oh my God, why am I so nervous here? And we talk, it goes good. She's like, you know what? I'm gonna introduce you to my head of content. So we come in at Barstool. So the head of content comes in at her desk. There was 2 chairs like this. Her desk is right here. And she had like a long sofa. And I just walked in when the person came in and I took over the room and things. She had a meeting going on with somebody else. And I just said, hey, let's sit down right here like if I owned the place. She just looked at me and said, no, you're gonna go outside and talk to her. But I'd rather say I'm sorry than ask for forgiveness. I'd rather her see effort, like, man, this guy's trying. Because no one's trying anymore. This has become the easiest thing in the world for winners. All you gotta do is do. The rules completely changed from the 80s. The 80s, you had to have title, you had to look a certain way. No, we just changed that completely. Just do. Watch what happens when you do, I promise you. Nature rewards movement. I am the example of that. How can I see somebody on TV and then have her right here? That's just crazy. How can I reach out to somebody and have this kind of relationship now? Where we sit there with famous people, there's 12 people there, and she turns to me and goes, you're the best one here. And I go, you know why? Because I care. Put that in any algorithm, put anything. Put a measure on that. You cannot. You don't even see it, but you feel it.
Yep.
And that's what these people deal with all day long. That's why when you get to this level, you see the company they carry. And that's why the people from New Hampshire win. Because they get in their car, they don't complain about gas prices or traffic, or oh my God, the ferry, and it went down. No. Right? Because we have it so easy. So think about that.
All right. This is like a sermon with you
Wait,
two.
we've got a man back there asking a question,
Let's get the
Erika. I
dude.
don't think we can leave him.
This gentleman?
Yeah.
Hey guys, how's it going?
How we doing?
I'm doing good. Coach, thanks for the time this morning.
Another gentleman I met on the internet.
First of all, my name is Sagnik. I have a day job in sports media at Fox. I also run a production company in the city. I was lucky enough to interview both Erika and Coach here, both great people, so thank you for that. My question is about transition. Erika, you went from Barstool to Food52, wildly different world, cleaner bathrooms and all that.
Yeah. Much.
Coach, you went from nightlife to coaching baseball, and you guys both did that in like later stages of your lives. I have a lot of friends who are in the corporate world and trying to transition to whatever the next stage of their lives are. Talk to me about that jump and how do you guys justify to yourself that respective transition is actually worth sending it?
Okay, I'll start on that. I think Rennae actually described this well, which is you have to commit. So you're never going to know if the choice you make or the jump you move or the move you make is the right move, right? There's no crystal ball. There's no assurance. And that's why most people don't jump, which I think is really what you're saying. It's easy to be a winner now because most people don't do anything. I think pushing yourself to transition is important, and the more swiftly you move through that, the better. Because when you're in that transition, it's really more comfortable to look back than it is to look forward, especially because you don't know what you're doing looking forward. So I think for me, it's to move swiftly. It's to be maniacally focused on what you want to happen next. Like I came to Food52 and everyone was like, who the fuck is this? And she's gonna ruin it and she's a disaster and what is she doing? And I could spend all day listening to that, and you know what, they're not wrong. To Lee's point, they have some good feedback, but I think you have to keep going. It's the movement piece, which is there's no, I was at a conference, at this political conference last week, really randomly, and it's never wrong to try. It's never wrong to say yes. And let's say I completely botched this thing. I'll have been a great success at Barstool Sports. I tried something else it didn't work. But to Rennae's point, if I can leave the field and be like, I tried everything I could, I gave it my every ounce, then what do I care? You know, and I think you also have to look at that. People are optimists. So even if you make the absolute worst decision, you're going to say something good came out of it, guaranteed. Every person here will say that.
Yep.
So I think it's move swiftly, be decisive, commit. Don't care what everybody has to say about it. Don't even make room for that, because the more room you make for that, the less time you're spending on what you're building. And then look up in a year and be like, well, what do I think? You know, and just for you, not for somebody else, but just for you.
Yep.
Rennae, you want to say?
I mean, yeah, it's the same thing. For me, I think the transition was obviously as a professional tennis player, it's like, oh, well, at 30 or 35, people are starting like, when are you retiring? It's like, think about that for a second. Like I knew going into my tennis career that at some point I had to have a second life, a second career that was very much not being a professional athlete. I played till I was 39, so I did play a long time. Because Billie Jean King kept yelling at me, keep playing. I was like, I'm 38, I'm still going. It's a true story. And because she understood that, you know, money I was making was probably better than I was going to make doing other things as well. But also I loved what I did. And I think then transitioning into doing television, and I don't have an agent. Everything I've ever gotten in my career has me literally talking and being personable to people. And so that's incredibly important for me. I would reach out. I would get to know the head of X, and not X. That's
Whatever.
Definitely not somebody I would be friends with. I take that back. I meant XYZ, but you know what I mean. But I mean, just honestly going up and say, I would love to work for you. You know, Molly Solomon from NBC called me to do the Olympics, you know, and it was actually the catalyst for me retiring, because she heard that I wanted to get into television. And because I was a nice person to other people, Mary Carrillo in particular, who had been working for NBC for 10, 15 years, used me a lot with information for tennis players, and we have become very, very close friends. And Mary put my name forward to Molly Solomon, who heads up NBC Olympic coverage. And so Molly's the one that called me on the phone and said, would you like to do the tennis at the London Olympics? And I was still contemplating playing the London Olympics. And when she told me that, I said, okay, here's my moment to make this decision to retire right here, right now, because the only reason for me to keep playing was to play the London Olympics. And so I said yes to the opportunity to do television, because I knew that's what I wanted to do afterwards. So again, it was that moment of like, do I keep playing or do I say yes to this opportunity? And you know, one of the most powerful women in TV called me personally to ask me. So I said yes. And so it's that transition of trusting that I knew I was good at what I could be good at. So I said, yes, let's go. Let's start it now. So I think, you know, I was never afraid to do it. And I think if you're not afraid, you should be afraid. Like I was petrified to host. But if you know you're good at something and someone says, I think you could handle this chore, or I think you could handle this, you know, if you're a lawyer, for example, and says, you can handle this case. And you're like, oh my God, I don't know. Someone said to you, you can handle this. That means you can handle this. So never distrust like what someone's giving. If they're handing you something, you take it and you run with it. And so never doubt that. So if there's a job out there that someone says, I think you could probably do this job. And you're like, yeah, but I'm pretty comfortable here. And I don't know, do I want the stress? Do it. That's my lesson for you.
All right, let me bring
2
this
seconds.
up.
Yep.
I know, I got this. I like to believe in magic a little bit, because if not, life has become so boring. Like I like the magic of life. And whether you believe in the man upstairs, the universe, whatever it is, there's clues that are put in your life that right now you have no idea why, but later it really makes sense. And to me, it's happened a million times, but I'll bring one that really hits home. So this dude, when special people tell me things, people I look up to, people that have accomplished a lot, I really listen. And I was trying to act in Hollywood, and I'm out there, and one of the most successful producers in Hollywood told me, you should read a book by Winston Churchill called The Last Lion. I don't read, I'm not into British reading, it's crazy. The book was this big. I go, there's no way I'm gonna read a book this big. It's impossible. And I wanted to please the guy and the whole thing and be able to talk about the book. So I grabbed this book, and this is great. I don't know anything about Winston Churchill. I knew what he had done in the past, but like whatever. And I turned to a page, and the second page hit me like this. and it explained after spending 45 years in Parliament, not 45 years alive, 45 years in Parliament, while he was old, bald, and fat, that's the time that Winston Churchill rose to become Winston Churchill. So what did that tell me in my brain? That I'm going to be successful later in life. That's it. So the common theme in tonight is two things. It's effort, it's attitude, society. Today's the best day ever. Can we replicate this vibe that you guys have created for us next Tuesday when there's none of this? That's when it gets sad. When you're by yourself now, you're taking the train, the subway, whatever, when you're riding back, can you remember this and not scroll your life away and forget this? And then you should DM everybody here should DM everybody here, and us three, and everybody should, by the way, tag Erika, post a book, you grab a book. Don't get it sent to your house. You grab it. Don't trust anybody. You grab that. It's the Bible. Trust me. She's not going to sell it this way. I'm going to say, you grab a book. You have her sign it. You take a picture to it. You tag her. And then if you learn something from it, post it. She's going to repost it. That's how you start paying her back. And when you see her, comment on her stuff. All positive. Yeah. Watch what happens. I'll get a DM from somebody a year from now. Happens all the time. You know what? I did what you said, and it just changed everything.
And aim high. Like, honestly, I had a really fun dinner one time at the first year I ever worked at NBC for the Olympics. And they asked the talent to sit with the interns. And the interns were like 17, 18. They were working for free. They're running around getting us coffee and all the things, right? And so they said, would you sit? And I said, yeah, sure. So I sat with these kids. They're all just these adorable, just ready for life, And so I said, all right, I've got one task for you all. You all have to tell me what your dream job is. And they're like, really? And I said, yes, because you never know. I could have the power to give that to you. And so I said, all right, we're going to start. There was about 8 of them. We started. The first one was a little like, I would like to do. I was thinking, come on, bigger than that, like really bigger than that. And of course, it took to get to the first guy. And he said, it's true, guys, they aim higher.
Yep.
And the guy said, I want to be a manager of a baseball team. And I said, oh, really? I said, well, you never know who I know. And I said, trust me when I tell you, you never know who you're going to meet that could give you that dream job. Okay. And so he goes, okay, so we go around again and we get to, and the last girl, God love her, she's like, I want to be White House press secretary one day. And I was like, there you go. So it's like they all went around and they all got more and more into it, right? And they were like, yeah. And I said, no, go higher than that. And they're like, okay. And I said, because you never know who you're going to meet. For example, I know the owners of the Dodgers, right? And I know the owners of the Cubs. These are all just friends that I've met, through tennis and various different things. And I said, imagine if they ever just happen to say, we just don't have enough like kids or, young. I said, oh, well, I have little Timmy over here. So it's like whenever you meet someone, like tell them what you want. Like you never know who you're going to meet that could give you that job. Someone like Erika could be like, well, interesting. I met that kid from New Hampshire and she really wants to be in fashion or whatever. And she might be friends with Anna Wintour. You never know, and so there's that opportunity that's out there for everybody. So that's why I always say yes. And say yes to people you meet and go to events because you never know that one person that you could meet could actually help you get your dream job.
Thank you both so much. Thank you everyone here so much. And say yes. Not say.
Say yes.
Say yes.